Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Now, when you think about the start of global finance, certain pictures probably jump right into your head.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Florence, the Medicis.
Exactly. The Medici bankers, maybe those big Dutch East India Company ships, those powerful European images.
Those are the stories we usually hear.
They are. But what if I told you there was, well, another story, a much older one, just as complex, maybe even more influential in some ways?
Okay, I'm listening.
What if there was a truly global financial system, humming along centuries before those guys, complete with things like paper transactions and investment deals?
Now, that's an intriguing idea. It challenges the standard narrative quite a bit.
That's exactly our mission today. We're going to journey back, uncover this hidden blueprint. We're diving deep into the world of the first real global financiers.
And these were muscle merchants.
That's right. Merchants whose innovations connected continents and, get this, actually laid the groundwork for financial tools we still use. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, this is important stuff. Because, focusing only on that one European perspective means we miss huge chunks of economic history, incredible ingenuity.
It really does.
This isn't just some, historical side note. It feels more fundamental to understanding the whole global economic picture.
Absolutely. And it all starts with the sheer scale of this network. Just try to picture it.
Yeah.
Between the 8th and 14th centuries, this enormous economic web.
We're talking huge distance.
Huge, stretching from Spain, Iberia in the west,
Yeah.
across North Africa, the Middle East,
All the way to China?
all the way to China. Cities like Cordoba, Cairo, Baghdad, Damascus, Guangzhou, they weren't isolated dots.
No, they were connected, nodes in a web.
Exactly, nodes in this complex, decentralized economic web.
Okay, decentralized is key there.
Right. But here's where it gets really interesting for me. This vast network, it wasn't built on armies or, government power.
No imperial force holding it together?
None. It wasn't enforced by soldiers or fleets. Instead, its foundation was something, well, maybe stronger.
Okay, what was it?
Trust. Just trust.
Across all those cultures and distances. That sounds ambitious. How did that work practically?
That's the million-dinar question, isn't it? And the answer is fascinating.
So this trust, it wasn't just like a feeling or a handshake?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It was structured,
Yeah.
deeply rooted in Islamic commercial law.
Okay. Law based on the Quran and Hadith.
Precisely. Contracts weren't casual things. They were meticulously written down. They required witnesses.
And upheld by the community, strong social pressure.
Exactly. Strong community norms, shared religious ethics.
Mm-hmm.
It all tied together. And think about the practical result.
Okay.
A merchant sitting in Cairo could fund a shipment going all the way to India
Right.
and be pretty confident that someone else, say in Baghdad, would get paid for the Chinese silk he sent without needing bags of gold traveling the whole way.
Or needing hired swords to guard it.
Right. No armed guards needed for the money itself, just for the goods maybe. This legal framework, it gave them the security, the predictability for massive long-distance trade.
That is remarkable for the time.
So let me get this straight. A merchant, maybe in 10th century Spain, could set up a deal, put the money for something that travels across North Africa, through the Middle East, maybe Arabia, ends up in China.
And expect it all to work out according to the contract.
Yes. That level of confidence, that
Right.
interconnectedness, it's almost hard to wrap your head around for that era.
It really speaks volumes about the power of that shared legal system, and I guess Arabic as a common language for business, too.
Absolutely. That helped immensely. So, okay, this huge network exists built on trust and law. Impressive.
Very.
But practically, how did they actually handle the money flow, manage the risks, especially, without modern banks as we know them, and that whole ban on interest?
Right, the riba prohibition. That's crucial, and it leads directly to some genuinely revolutionary financial tools they developed.
Okay, let's get into those. What's first?
Well, one of the most significant was Mudarabah.
Mudarabah. Okay, what was that?
Think of it as a pioneering investment contract. A partnership, really.
A partnership. How did it work?
Simple structure at its core. One person, the investor, they called him the Rab el Mal, puts up the capital, the money.
Got it. Investor provides the cash.
Right. And the other person, the agent or trader, the Mudarib, takes that capital and manages the business or the trade venture, does the actual work.
Okay, sounds straightforward enough. But what made it unique?
The really insightful part is the philosophy behind it, especially the risk sharing.
Risk sharing. How so?
Well, If the venture made a profit, fantastic. They split it according to whatever ratio they agreed on beforehand.
Okay, standard profit sharing.
And this is the key ethical difference if there was a loss.
Uh-oh.
The investor, the one who put up the money, bore that financial loss.
Wait, the trader who did the work lost nothing. Financially, at least.
Financially, no. The logic was the trader invested their time, their skill, their effort. That was their contribution, their risk. The investor risked capital, the trader risked labor.
That's very different.
It ties directly back to that Islamic ban on interest, riba.
Right, you mentioned that. Why was interest forbidden?
The view was that profiting just from lending money without engaging in actual economic activity or sharing risk is exploitative. It creates an imbalance.
But Mudarabah was the ethical alternative.
Exactly. It focused on shared risk, shared reward. It ensured wealth came from real effort, real trade, productive activity, not just from money, making money on its own.
It's like early venture capital almost.
Yeah.
But with an ethical core.
Precisely. You could call it ethical venture capital centuries before the term existed.
Wow. So this wasn't just about lending money. It was a genuine partnership in the actual venture. Can you give us an example? Where would we see this Mudarabah in action?
Oh, absolutely. It was widespread. Think about the East African coast cities like Mombasa, Kilwa.
Okay, the Swahili coast trade.
Exactly. Merchants there used Mudarabah contracts all the time to fund their maritime trade networks connecting with India, Arabia.
Long before European banks showed up.
Long before. It fueled a really vibrant, dynamic economy based on these risk-sharing deals.
Okay, so they had clever ways to invest and share risk. But what about the physical movement of money? You mentioned not needing to haul gold.
Right, the danger of carrying chests of gold or silver across deserts and seas. Imagine.
Terrifying. Bandits, shipwrecks.
Their solution was another stroke of genius, Sakk.
Sakk. S-A-K-K.
That's the one. And funnily enough, the name might sound familiar.
Sakk. Check. No way.
It literally means document or written deed in Arabic. By the 9th century, they'd developed this system.
The original check, how'd it work?
Its brilliance was its simplicity, really. A merchant could deposit money with a trusted agent or banker in one city.
Okay.
And receive a sack, a piece of paper. Then they could travel, maybe thousands of miles, present that sack to another agent in another city, and withdraw the equivalent amount.
Wow. That completely changes the game for trade, doesn't it?
Oh, fundamentally. It was a paradigm shift. Suddenly, you don't need to carry the physical wealth.
Just a piece of paper. The risk reduction must have been enormous.
Huge. Less risk of theft, less risk of loss at sea. Plus, as you said, our word check comes directly from Sakk. That's its linguistic legacy.
That's incredible.
And it had another benefit. It helps standardize things. You might have different local currencies in different regions.
Right, making exchange complicated and risky.
But the Sakk represented a specific value, making cross-border trade much simpler and safer.
It's amazing. And we actually have proof of this. Records.
We do. There are 10th century Islamic records showing traders cashing these, well, checks, essentially. Maybe 1,500 kilometers away from where they were issued.
Like from Cairo to Basra, you're saying?
Exactly that kind of distance. Think about it. No modern banks, no SWIFT network.
No interest payments driving it.
Just trust, a solid legal framework, and this incredibly useful piece of paper.
Mind-blowing for the 10th century.
And Sakk wasn't the only taper tool. They had others too.
Oh. Like what?
Well, there was REN. This functioned a bit like a letter of credit.
Guaranteeing payment.
Yeah, guaranteeing payment or maybe the release of goods once certain conditions were met. And another one, sujud, which were basically promissory notes.
A written promise to pay later.
Exactly. A promise to pay a specific person a specific amount on a specific date. These weren't crude IOUs. They were sophisticated instruments that allowed for really complex deals involving multiple parties.
And these are the kinds of ideas Europe eventually picked up.
Very much so. European traders, especially later during the Renaissance and even earlier through contact during the Crusades, encountered these systems. They saw how well they worked and, well, they borrowed them, adapted them.
So these weren't just clever tricks. They were sophisticated financial instruments.
Absolutely.
But what really strikes me listening to this isn't just how clever the tools were. It's the philosophy behind it all.
The ethical core?
Yeah, that ethical core. It wasn't just about making money. It was about how you made it and what happened with it.
Precisely. That ethical framework is key. It's largely defined by 3 major prohibitions that really shaped how they did business.
Okay, what were they? We mentioned riba.
Right, riba. The ban on interest. We saw how that led to things like Mudarabah, focusing on profit sharing and real economic activity.
Got it. What else?
Second, Macer. This is the prohibition against gambling and excessive speculation.
So no betting on uncertain outcomes.
Pretty much, it steered investment towards tangible assets, productive businesses, things you could actually see and understand rather than just, risky financial bets.
Okay, riba, macer. What's the third?
Grar. This means avoiding excessive uncertainty or ambiguity, even deceit, in contracts.
So demanding clarity and transparency.
Exactly. No hidden clauses, no deliberate obfuscation. Everything had to be clear and fair up front.
These three bands together, they must have created a very different kind of economic environment.
They really did. They didn't just guide behavior. They actively shaped the system. They forced traders to build real partnerships, not just lender-borrower relationships.
Made them write clear contracts.
Right. And encouraged them to fund ventures where the outcome was reasonably predictable, not just wild speculation. You could argue this focus on ethics made many Islamic contracts much more transparent, more equitable than comparable European ones at the time.
So it wasn't just good morals, it was good business practice built into the system.
Yes. And it turned finance into an engine not just for commerce, but potentially for social good, too.
That raises a really important question, then. If the system was built on these ethics, how did that play out in the wider society, beyond just the merchants?
The impact was huge. You saw it visibly. The wealth generated, it wasn't just concentrated in the hands of a few elites.
It circulated.
It did. There was a strong cultural and religious expectation, sometimes even legal requirements like zakat, to reinvest profits back into the community.
Reinvest how? What kind of things?
We're talking major public infrastructure.
Yeah.
Building and supporting schools, the famous madrasas.
Centers of learning.
Absolutely. Hospitals, too. Advanced water systems for cities, for agriculture. Funding scholars, scientists.
Wow. So the profits from trade directly fueled public works and knowledge.
Yes, across vast regions. From Timbuktu in West Africa with its libraries.
To Samarkand in Central Asia with its observatory.
Exactly. It wasn't just an economic system. It was fueling civilization, supporting learning and development on a grand scale.
Now, as you're listening to this, you might be thinking, hang on, some of these ideas, risk-sharing, ethical considerations, even the check, they sound kind of modern.
And you'd be right to think that.
Because many of these concepts found their way into European finance, didn't they? Often without much credit given.
That's the crucial, often overlooked part. Starting around the 12th century, maybe even earlier, European merchants interacting with the Islamic world.
Through trade in the Mediterranean, contact during the Crusades?
Both, yes. They encountered these tools, Italian city-states, especially Venice, Genoa. They saw how effective things like Sakk and Mudarabah were.
And they copied them.
They adapted them. The Sakk clearly became the check, a cornerstone of European banking.
Right.
The Mudarabah partnership idea, that risk-sharing model, it heavily influenced the development of limited partnerships in Europe, what they called the commenda.
Which is fundamental to modern business structures.
Absolutely. Promissory notes, letters of credit. These concepts entered Italian trading manuals, having been standard practice in the Islamic world for centuries.
So those famous Italian banking families, the Medicis we mentioned earlier.
In many ways, they were building on foundations laid elsewhere. They refined things, scaled them up perhaps, but the core innovations often came from the Islamic world.
But the credit rarely followed.
That's the critical point. There's a pervasive lack of acknowledgement. Few of these foundational ideas were attributed to their Muslim sources in European histories.
It's like the origins got erased.
Or just conveniently ignored. To put it bluntly, figures like the Medicis were, in a very real sense, standing on the shoulders of giants, the giants of Islamic finance.
And you mentioned ethical banking earlier?
Yeah, this modern trend we see. So many of its core principles, avoiding interest, transparency, funding tangible assets, risk sharing, these weren't radical new ideas. They were the norm in Islamic commerce for hundreds of years.
It really highlights how interconnected global history is and how sometimes, well, the lines of influence get blurred or forgotten.
Or deliberately obscured, perhaps. It shows that so much of what we think of as modern financial infrastructure has really diverse, often unacknowledged origins.
Which leads to the big question. So why don't we learn this in school?
Yeah.
We learn about Roman roads, we learn about the Renaissance, but this massive, sophisticated, ethical, international financial system pioneered by Muslim merchants, it's often just missing.
It represents a significant imbalance in how history is often taught, focusing heavily on a Eurocentric narrative.
It feels like a huge piece of the puzzle is left out.
It is, and it's a shame because understanding this doesn't just correct the record. It shows us how innovation happens across cultures, how ideas travel and transform. Islamic finance wasn't just about trade. It helped build cities, supported science, connected civilizations. Its legacy, even if uncredited, is woven into our modern world.
Wow, this deep dive has really opened my eyes. It pulls back the curtain on this incredible, sophisticated, and importantly, ethical global financial system.
Pioneered centuries ago.
Yeah, centuries ago by Muslim merchants using tools like cheques and risk-sharing investments that feel surprisingly modern.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that the story of finance, like the story of human progress itself, is so much richer, so much more interconnected than the standard version we often get.
Absolutely.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to take away and reflect on. How many other things that we think of as purely Western or purely modern actually have these deeper, more diverse, sometimes hidden roots?
That's a really provocative question.
This history, it's not just about correcting facts, it's an invitation, really. An invitation to question the narratives we're given, to look deeper, and to appreciate the truly global, interconnected way innovation has always happened.
Well said. Understanding these hidden contributions doesn't just fill a gap, it genuinely enriches our whole perspective on economic history and how connected we all are. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next time.